welcome back to the Taft Heritage Show. I'm your host, Noah Mock, and today we actually have an incredible coach today with us that actually coached the boys soccer and led them to the CIF champions this year, speaking of which, and also winning Valley champions. Now, please welcome Roberto, or Coach Roberto.
Thank you guys for having me. I appreciate you guys a lot. It's my first time in a spot like this, so I really appreciate it a lot.
That's amazing. Now, let's just talk high school, right? So, starting off really, how long did you just play soccer in general?
So it goes back to first memories of soccer back in Mexico. 4 years old. I have pictures. A lot of pictures from my mom, my dad, that I go back and look at. And as a goalkeeper, I was never a field player. And that's ever since I started. My dad taking me. We lived in Puerto Vallarta, Mexico, which is the beach area. We used to go to the beach all the time, kick the ball, play every Sunday, play in the streets, and that's where it all started. Back home in PV.
Now, did you primarily do traveling clubs or teams?
So interesting story. Nowadays, soccer. It's pretty big here in the U.S. and everybody tells you that you're supposed to play some sort of club soccer. That costs a lot of money to do so, but I'm actually one of the players that never played club soccer. I just played any regular league outside of it. Never paid to go on a travel team or anything like that. So for those people that tell you that you must and you should, I think it's up to you what type of work you want to put in. I was also denied from those teams because I actually did go and try out and didn't make it. So I was kind of pushed back a little bit, but never gave up, and just kept doing my thing. And somehow I just got myself to high school, and it was a whole different game.
Now, especially with high school and so on during your years, how did you do academically wise, and was there any clubs that you did during your time?
So coming from Mexico, I didn't mention this, but I was 13 years old when I left home. So I didn't have my parents here with me. I happened to go to Livermore, California, where my dad's brother lived, and that's where I lived my first year. Then from there, I moved to Taft, and not knowing the language, the environment, the people, it was difficult for me. So the one thing I could always go back to was soccer. So that's the only thing I knew. So from that moment, my best friend was the ball, and not knowing the language and not communicating with people out there, I always turned back into that soccer ball. So I knew that if I follow that and I follow my dreams, the one thing I would always have was that. So throughout high school, freshman through senior years, I struggled. School-wise, but the one thing I knew is that if I made grades, I could play. So that was my motivation. Hey, you gotta make it through. You gotta make it through somehow. And I wasn't, you can say, book smart, but I knew I was smart enough to know that I needed to have my grades in check to be able to play the sport that I love. So along the way, I met a couple people, friends, students, and they made it a little bit easier. Teachers, back in the day when I came here in 2006 through 2010, that made it easier and a pleasant experience. And like I said, struggled school-wise, but the sport kept me going. Coming from Mexico to the U.S. soccer, facilities, resources, everything's just way better. So when I had one soccer ball to kick, I had 20 over here. When I didn't play travel ball, you were able to compete against different schools, get on a bus, experience that. To me, that was amazing. I'm like, I'm living the dream at a high school place. So it wasn't like that back home. So again, yeah, I struggled a little bit through school, but the sport kept me going.
So you always kept like a very symbolic relationship with like the sport as you went on to like grow as the person you became now.
Yes, I remember many Christmas where the only one thing I asked for was a soccer ball. And that made me so happy because we grew up with nothing, and to be able to have a soccer ball next to me just put a smile on my face. Maybe other holidays wasn't a soccer ball, but maybe it was soccer cleats, and I was the happiest boy out there, just running around with my ball and my cleats. So the one thing you guys do have to know about me is that I live life through soccer, and it's taught me so many things up to the point where I'm at today. So I never had let go, never let go.
Now, especially as you were going through high school, did you already have like a planned career in mind as you were going through high school, or were you just kind of drifting through?
Funny story is, ever since I was a young kid, people would ask me the same question. You ask a regular kid or just a simple kid, you ask what they want to do when they grow up. And a question that, or an answer that they would give you is a doctor, a dentist, a lawyer, um, you know, dreams and pretty good jobs out there. My answer was I want to be a professional soccer player. Ever since I was a little kid, and my parents used to get mad at me because I was 11, 12, 13 years old, and my teachers, my family members, they would ask me, hey, what do you want to be when you grow up? A soccer player. They laughed because they thought it was funny, but I had nothing else in my mind. So I followed up, and my dad was okay with it. My mom used to get a little bit upset at me because obviously a mom wants to hear that you want to be someone in life, right? But somehow I was always attracted to the idea. So I never let go. And once I got to high school, I saw that PE teacher was somehow related to sports and being involved with athletes and all of that. So eventually, later on, when I went to college, I chose to be a PE teacher. So I have a bachelor's degree on kinesiology, and followed that, without me going into something else, so that I could still follow my dream. So yeah.
Now, especially in college as well, like, of course you played, college like soccer and so on, right? And then did that really help you like hone your skills? Did that help you like perform way better and so forth?
Yes. So the assistant coach at the college at the time that I was at Taft College, at the time that I was a sophomore here in high school, he was the assistant coach for the high school. That was my first experience having a college coach tell me how to do things and follow the book. Sorry about that. And follow the script a little bit better. And I remember back in high school, he used to bring me over to the college and show me how it was done back in the day with the guys at the college, me being at the high school. I used to be able to train and play with those guys and kind of see how the difference between high school and soccer was, and that gave me a pretty good idea of what I was supposed to work on, and to be able to get there, if that makes sense.
Now, especially like growing up and so on, like what kind of environment did you live in that time where it kind of motivated you or it kind of helped you to get in like such mindset?
Okay, so like I said, I think it all started when I was a little kid, not having much, having to ride the bus from place to place, having to walk place to place, having to go to work when I was a little kid. My grandpa waking me up at 4 a.m. in the morning to go fish and then sell fish. Those experiences just had a big impact on the person I am today. My grandpa also used to be a construction worker back, and I used to mix cement by hand. I used to carry bricks up a ladder to try to build a house. And I'm talking about back when I was 8, 9 years old. Then I left home at 13. And when I was here, obviously I was somewhat alone, trying to fight for my dreams and all those little things at such a young age, and the motivation to make my family proud, knowing that I struggle. It was, instead of putting me down, it was more of a like, I need to get this done. So um, that that mindset of never giving up is the same mindset that I teach my kids today, and one of the big reasons why we went where we went and we are where we are soccer wise here. So that mindset is there. It's never gonna go away, and I love it.
So it was more of a mindset of just being able to persevere and just being able to persist through a lot of your hardships as you went on, and then eventually when you became a coach, of course, you instilled that within your own players to where you were able to get to where you are now.
That's exactly what it is. Perseverance, hard work, and dedication, and humbleness has set the standard and has set who I am, and that's how I live life every day. And knowing that there is no tomorrow to be able to get things done, it's how we do things, or how I do things. Mm-hmm.
Now, especially like as you were beginning to become a coach here at TUHS, like how was that experience? Like, were you really nervous at first, or how did that develop?
I coached my senior year or my sophomore year at Taft College. 2012 was my first year that I actually coached here at the high school. I was the JV coach here at the high school. I interviewed for it. I was blessed to have the position. Once I coached here that 1 year, I moved on to finish my schooling at Cal State San Bernardino, and finished up there, then came back in 2017 to coach the college. The job opened up here, and applied for it, knowing that I had the experience and being able to coach at the next level. I knew that I could make something happen, but obviously I didn't get the chance right away. I had to fight my way in a little bit. And then finally, when I did, when you get a head position, there's pressure. There is thoughts of, are you gonna be a good coach? Are you gonna be able to take this program from where it's at to a different place where one day you can dream of, right? So I think my goals were to take my high school that I played at to a place where we never been. I think that was very clear when I first walked the aisles of this school, and that just was a dream of mine, to be able to come back and be able to prove myself that one day I could do that. And it didn't take 1 year or two. It took 9 years to be able to know that what I was doing was the right thing. And yes, there was a lot of pressure, knowing that maybe 1 year it could have been it, and maybe I didn't have my job back. Maybe that could have been taken away from me with so many negatives throughout the years. But always knowing that what I was doing was going to pay off. And, a lot of people see the 9 years in the past and don't see, a lot of people see the 1 year and don't see the 9 years in the past. And that 1 year, proves that all those 9 years, it's what it takes.
Now, especially whenever you became like the equipment manager too, like how did that really like feel for perspective, especially for like someone who doesn't really know like what you've been through and so on? Like how was like that aspect of the job as well? And then like, was there anything particularly like hard about that?
I think it's everything has set up for me in a way where I'd always wanted to. My first job here before equipment manager was actually a bilingual aide. When I was going through these classrooms back when I was in high school, I actually got a lot of help by bilingual aides because obviously I did not know the language. So Miss Pina Lina, she was one of my mentors growing up, helping me out. And when I first got my first job, I said I want to be able to help a person just like me, make them believe that they can learn the language, make them believe that they can go to big places, make these kids confident enough to be able to say, hey, you did it, I can do it too. So coming in as a bilingual aide was a blessing for me to be able to talk to people that I relate with. And then from there, the equipment manager job opened up, and I mean, it's athletics, it's sports. It was no brainer for me to be able to transition into that, and I was blessed to get the opportunity. And then from there, you get to talk to athletes, you get to talk to students, you get to mentor them, you get to see them every day throughout the school. They stop by and they ask, hey, how can I do this better? And for me, that's it. For me, it's being able to help every student, not just student athletes, to be able to overcome whatever there is. I'm not here, or I was never here just to help specific athletes. I'm here for every single student that has dreams of becoming something, and they have that in their mind, and we're here just to reinforce it. So that job for me now, today, it's a good way for me to give back. So giving back, it's my goal, and I'm gonna do whatever it takes to be able to create these beautiful lives of our students, and I'm there to support it. So yeah.
Now, like coming from that, did that kind of like reinforce like kind of the idea of wanting to become a coach, or how did that evolve to where like you wanted to become a coach in the first place?
So, like I said, when I was a little kid, my dream was to become a professional soccer player, and my dream got crushed a little bit after university when I played semi-pro for 6 months, trying to pursue that dream. And I have two knee surgeries, two ACL knee surgeries on my right knee that somewhat slow me down to be able to get there. But the real excuse to that is um, up to that moment, I was still alone, not having um, somewhat of support from anybody out there, especially my parents. When I used to get the call from my parents and ask how am I doing, I mean, as a kid away from home, I said I'm fine, knowing that I didn't have milk to drink. So having to drive from San Bernardino to Ontario, where I used to play semi-pro for those 6 months, took gas money, took time, took work effort. I couldn't afford it anymore. So I had to talk to the coach at the time, and I said, hey, do you have a contract in mind for me? Never really gave me an answer, so I had to leave that. So then from there, not knowing what to do or what was my next step, I said, well, I can't do it as a player anymore, but maybe I can do it as a coach. So from that point on, I started studying the game a lot more to be able to become what I am today. So that transition was tough. At the same time, winning as a coach now, it's a little bit more rewarding than winning as a player. I think it's a whole different game, and I'm just very happy to be on this journey.
Like it's a whole different experience and so forth.
Yes, you can't do it. You can't do it yourself anymore. You live through your players, so you have to invest yourself to them. You have to show them the way. You have to work with them many hours mentally, physically, knowing their families, knowing their stories, like I'm telling you my story. Once you get into that and you get to really know that player, you really know how to get to them. Then once you start getting to them individually, then you start bringing that group together. And obviously my first year's coaching, I wasn't as vocal as I am today. I even struggled to say the words out because I wasn't fully ready with language yet, but somehow I needed to get my message out. But now throughout the years, as you keep coaching, you just gain so much experience where you're able to help now 100%. And helping 100% means that you have to get to know every single player every single story, and that has changed the way we looked at things, and we created this bond and this little community of families and players where we're able to fight for the same goals. And yes, it's different, but it's also harder, and it's not easy, obviously. But yes.
So, whilst you were coaching, did they kind of already put you at varsity, or did you kind of have to build up to that?
I built up. I was a JV coach back in 2012. So I was a JV coach, and in 2017, when I first started, the varsity job was open. I applied for the varsity job, but I did not get it. The reason why, they said I didn't have enough experience. So in my mind, I was ready. In my mind, I needed to get there. But sometimes, perseverance. And my life has been that. I said, oh, you think I'm not ready? I'll show you that I'm ready. So obviously coming in and working with a different, completely coach, different culture, different ideas, you have to listen to that, to what he wants, because obviously I wasn't the head at the time. So little by little, we go back and forth, and the commitment from him wasn't there. And commitment from me was 100%. And I think that the board or whoever was in that position at the time, the following year saw that it wasn't enough for him, so they flew out the job again, and I applied again, and I finally got the job after that year. So yes, I started as a JV coach, and then eventually got into the varsity position. And all the years weren't that successful, but step by step, it's what got us here.
Now, especially like going through your years as a coach, like were there any particular like hardships that you kind of had to face on, or like was there any like hardships that gave you like somewhat of difficulty?
Throughout coaching?
Yeah.
Yeah, coaching, maybe some of you guys don't know, but coaching doesn't make the life that you really want to have economically. Coaching, when you follow coaching, coaching dream, pursue coaching because you love it, because there's passion, you find out that you having a regular job is probably better than just coaching out there. And for me, I was 24/7 coaching, and I didn't even make enough money to buy my daughter's diapers. And my wife at the time is like, hey, what are you doing? And I'm like, I'm still trying to pursue my dream. And obviously, I look back and I put them in some sort of situations trying to pursue what I wanted to always be. At the same time, I'm thankful that they were patient. And, like I said, coaching 8 hours only gets you $1,000, a month, where a regular job could get you a lot more. It just also depends where you coach. And over at the college, that's where I all started. Then I come over here, and somewhat similar, and you're not making what you dream of. So it's not a dream. It's a dream job when it's your passion, but it's not a dream job when you talk about finances and money. So obviously economically we weren't there, but it's the work that you do outside of it with coaching that makes it the dream. So I finally found my job within this soccer, within your family, within your town, and I couldn't ask for anything better.
Now, throughout those years, especially, like, were there any like challenges particularly that helped you hone together like your skills now as a coach?
Yes, I think as a young coach, you wanna overpower a little bit of your, a lot of it of your athletes, and tell them this is how it is. That's what they're supposed to do. But it's not always that works that way. So all throughout those 10 years, I'm able to listen and sit back a little bit and see it. And then also working at the college for the last 10 years, working with older athletes and younger athletes has gave me that experience to be able to manage situations in better ways. Um, but I always saw the struggle as a normal thing. So you always kind of choose face adversity in the face and say, let's go.
Now, especially like during all that, like, did you really begin to learn a philosophy like during soccer, and then eventually start like practicing that with like your newer players now?
I think that the philosophy comes from our community college over at Taft College. Um, the philosophy of the detail. Um, the detail within the sport, um, it's key for a program and for a person to be able to get places they never think they could. And what I mean by that is, a detail could be you have to be on your grades before you think soccer. So if you make your grades, you will not struggle throughout your soccer career. If you show up on time, if you say please and thank you, if you're respectful, there was standards, and there was this coach specifically over at the college where he taught us all these things that might not seem big, but they were huge. So, for example, when you're talking to a class or you're talking to your team, nobody has the right to say anything but the coach. You gotta be all eyes, respectful. It's just details such as the way you kick the ball with the left foot, with the right foot. Detail like you need to be able to scan the field before you do anything else. Details like make sure that the ball is air up a certain way before you train or before you play. Make sure that all the equipment is there, that all the bips are there. Every single day it was about being ready. So being ready before the game, before the practice was the detail. So we took on that, and took it along life, and we took that here too, and it has worked out perfectly. So I think the learning experiences come from there, and we have taken that into here, and it has worked out perfectly.
Now, especially being a former soccer player too, and then eventually like with JV and so forth, do you think like the JV coach now here, Coach Jesus, do you think he's up to standards with how like you expect the students like from JV to eventually evolve up to like varsity?
I think that Coach Jesus now has gained a lot more experience. Just like my first year here, I wasn't all there. So I think that Coach Jesus had a lot of learning to do. But throughout the years, I think he's gotten better. And I think that he's more than capable of doing his job now to be able to help us out. But at the beginning, it's not always there. I seen him coach, I seen him grow, and I actually played with Coach Jesus back in high school. So he was my teammate, and we actually went to the only, before this Valley Championship, the only Valley Championship that we played back in 2006 and 2007. Coach Jesus was a senior, and he was the captain of the team. I was a freshman back in the day, so he was my captain. Now the roles kind of reverse a little bit, right? I'm kind of his captain, but at the same time, there is that respect between him and myself. And now I get to teach him what I learned, and he's humble enough to take those teachings now and apply them to our players. So that he's more than capable, he is, that we never settle. That's, I think, our goal. We can't settle for what we do. I have to keep asking him to do more, just like I ask myself to do more. So yes, he's more than capable of doing it.
Now, with morale being such like a important thing, especially in like all sports, do you think like as you kind of evolved onward, like how big of an impact is that to you?
Very big, very big. I think we run into issues now with athletes feeling down because of little mistakes they do or because the coach gets on them and they don't know how to bounce back. I think working mentally with students and athletes opens up the door to be able to be a better team, for that athlete to be able to be a stronger person mindset wise. Because if you are a strong mindset person, regardless of what they tell you, or regardless of what mistake you've taken, you're always gonna keep your head up. And when you teach that, which we try to do that here at our program here at Taft High, when you teach those things, regardless of the stage that you are, you're gonna lift your head up and you're gonna keep going. But it's about also having those one-on-one conversations with students that it's really hard to have in the field or in a group environment. So that's why it takes so much time. When you take that group out of that soccer field and you put them into a locker room or you put them into an office, and then you get to talk to them just like we're doing right now, then that's where you get the best out of it. But that takes time. And the time is sometimes is what people are not willing to invest. And me as a coach, it doesn't matter. I got to be able to do that work to be able to go where we want to go.
Now, I know that you have, of course, yourself and then Jesus, and then I know you also have both Coach Cruz and Leva. Like, how big of an impact do they create on the team as well? Like, how big of a help are they, especially with the amount of players and all that?
Very big, very big. We wouldn't be where we're at without all my coaches. My assistant coach is Anthony Cordona. Me and Coach Tony played together back in 2012 at Taft College. So we've been playing and coaching ever since. So the work that I do is more of a teacher head, right? And then Tony's work is the same, but he's able to interact with the students a lot more, have fun with the students a lot more. I'm more of a serious face all the time. He's more of like, come in, hug, environment, music, all that type of stuff. And then I had 6 coaches. Ziggy was actually my math teacher back in high school. And Santi Esteban Jose, he's one of our coaches here in the community that has a youth sports team. So Leonel Leonel's dad is Ziggy, and then Santi Esteban is Dylan's dad. So both of those, I have 2 parents in my coaching staff. And then the other 2 coaches were my former players back in high school. So all these people have an idea of how I do things. And whatever I needed from them, they were always there doing it right away. And questions, hey, what is it that you need, coach? I need this. Next drill was set up already 10 minutes ago. Hey, what is it that, another thing that you need? Stats papers, motivation videos, grade-wise, they do tutoring, all that type of stuff that I didn't used to do in the past. This year was key, and it wouldn't happen if I didn't have them in my team. So it's really important that you have the right people, not choose the people, but if you have the right people in place that are willing to do whatever it takes to help that team or that athlete or that student, I think the sky's the limit.
So would you definitely say it helps create a really big chemistry with everyone and kind of almost like a family in that sense?
Yes, absolutely. Obviously, all the teams have their struggles. All the teams have their struggles at the beginning of the seasons, but once it clicks, once everybody knows their role, I mean, we're able to walk together and go all the way to the end.
Well, I am very sorry. It appears that we are running out of time here. We're very in on that too. That was a good thing, nevertheless. Exactly. We do need a part 2. Now,
thank you. I know it took a little longer than expected.
Man, it was still good either way. Well, thank you very much for watching this show, of course, and please give your thanks to him as well for being able to come onto the show and be able to share his experiences. And with that, thank you for watching today's show.
Thank you.
Hello, and I'm Noah Mock, and welcome back to the Taft Heritage Show. Today we have our fantastic guest once more, Coach Roberto, and we're going to be just continuing off from yesterday. Now, I want to say, especially because I wanted to gross over this topic, how was it like seeing all those like not party buses, but like charter buses with all those fans? Like, did that impact like games to you?
Yes, it did very much. Um, Going from driving off campus, just like a regular game, going off to play any team out there. You just do you guys' team talk, and we get out and we do our thing. But as things build up, obviously our community started getting involved, our students started getting involved, and the better you got and the higher you went, the more pressure we had trying to perform, and having our crowd, having our students, our staff being there for us, especially on that Valley Championship when we went off against Corcoran. That was a big motivation hit for our boys. And they were the happiest I'd ever seen them going off campus, feeling that they had their town having their backs, their students. And for us, coaches, we were just admiring the moment and taking it all in, because we never picture anything like it. And at the same time, with a lot of pressure, we looked at each other and we said, hey, we better win, between my assistant coach and myself. But the boys really enjoyed it, and that was a big motivational hit for us to be able to go out there and do it.
So I want to say, like, because I kind of want to have an opinion from you on this. Do you think, like, what do you think the school could do, especially for like our current programs, and like how do you think that maybe there could be more prominent like soccer programs here at our school?
Well, obviously, that the work that we've been doing, or I've been doing, is not a year worth. It's I think 9-year, 10-year, pass, where you've been trying to put little things together. And it all starts with a head person, an individual that has dreams and goals to become something bigger than what we are. And then from there, connecting the right pieces. So for me, obviously I always wanted that, but connecting the right pieces mean that you do the work within all those years, and those guys that learn those pieces are able to connect with the younger generation and be able to share what is it that you want from them. So building a culture, it's what it is. And when you have done that for so many years, at one point it breaks through. Being patient, really patient, and believing that what you do, it's gonna pay off. It's key, because at one point, you can quit. And there is a lot of us, a lot of people, a lot of students, a lot of athletes that don't think that they're gonna see the end of the road, and they end up, quitting. And for us, quitting was never the word. But I think one of the things that we can do to make it better, not only for soccer, but for all the sports around us, is to be able to have those one-on-one conversations with kids, knowing where they want to go, what they struggle with. Getting to know those individuals is really important, because too many times you see a volleyball player come in and practice for the next 3 months, and you don't even know who their parents are, or you don't know what's his favorite color, what favorite food, what position he really likes to play, what are his dreams and goals, right? So if you have those athletes that do want to go somewhere but you never talk to them, it's a little bit of a waste, because you are wasting their time, and I'm wasting mine too at the same time. So being able to connect with each individual in a more personal way, I think comes a long way. So if all of us have the time and put in the time, which is hard, putting in the time that way, knowing that maybe this 1 year is not going to work, or maybe that the next year is not going to work either, but having faith in what you do with the students, it's gonna take you there. The other thing for me, it's I'm very strict with my athletes in a way where I allow them to enjoy their moments. But there's always moments, just like here in school, there's moments for you to listen, and then there's moments like your break to be able to mess around and have those moments. So what is it that we want from our students? We want them to commit. So commitment, it's a big topic, and what that means is if you're gonna be doing certain sport, specifically soccer in this case, you're gonna give your 3 months, 4 months, 100% of your time to that. And when it comes down to your schooling, you also have to give that, but outside of it. If you have other things that you want to do, you have to put in your time, but outside of it. So committing 100% to that job, to that sport, it's really key, and you have to guide them through, and you have to say no sometimes. You have to manage at one point, and you got to make them believe that what you guys are doing, that what you're doing as a coach is going to work at the end of the day, at the end of the road. And some of these kids, athletes, don't like that. They don't like to be told that they can't use their phones when coach is talking, or that they can't go home at a certain time, or simple as, guys, game's over, you don't get to ride home with your parents, you get to ride home with your team. I mean, sometimes you get into the parent issue where that's not fair because I drove this far to see my kid, but at the same time, you're breaking the environment that you're gaining from that. So even if you win, everybody wants to ride the bus. If you lose, everybody wants to go home with their parent. So you gotta make it the same. If you win and you lose, you still gotta go back with your team. And that's commitment. Knowing that you're not gonna have your mom telling you it's okay. You're gonna have your coach telling you that it's okay, but we need to fix some stuff. So when I get deep into that, that's what it means. That's the culture that we're trying to change. And sometimes it doesn't work. What if you have a losing season? Well, why does it matter if you're losing anyways? And that's the question. And that's the hard part about this, being a coach, that even though you know that they're supposed to ride in the bus and that's the right thing, you got to make parents understand at the same time. People understand at the same time. So that's what we've been doing throughout the years to get to this point, and it wasn't pretty, but it takes time. It takes time.
So, with like such great relationship with your players and so on, and especially just being on such a long streak of just winning and so on, I imagine you've been able to create some memories with those players and all that. By far, what do you think is like your favorite memory?
So we did a couple team bonding exercises. We went over to the beach. A couple of these guys never been to the beach, as funny as it sounds and corny as it sounds, and enjoying that moment for them with their team. It was amazing. We actually had this question asked to the kids the day before the first state game, and I said, "What's your favorite memory?" And as a soccer coach, you wanna hear, "Oh, the goal that I scored against this team," or the one-on-one defending that I did, or the game that we won such day. But no, most of these kids, what you come and what you'll be surprised with the answer is that they all said that their best memories are the ones when they were together doing something different than soccer. So it kind of shocked me a little bit, but they said the one time that we went to Windwolves to hike, the one time that we went to the beach, the one time that, I took them to the top of the stadium up there, all in a little cubby, and they're like, we ate pizza together. Those are the memories that they really, really embraced. And I was happy to hear that, because it's not all soccer all the time. It's something different. And for me, my best memory was when you get these kids at the beginning of season and they're fighting with each other. They don't like each other. oh, I don't like how he does that. I don't like how this kid is this. And then you see the end of the season, and those two kids that were fighting together, they're hugging each other now. I'm like, how did that happen? Right? Well, it's a process. And then so I love seeing the process. And, you know, it was beautiful to watch.
Now, I want to actually talk about one of your specific players, Christian Gallegos. I was gonna ask, like, what was your first impression of him? Like when you first met him, and like how do you see him now? Like especially in the team and all that.
Christian Gallegos, I was privileged to coach him when he was a little kid. So I known Christian Gallegos ever since he was a little kid playing rec league right here with our rec league, and I just kind of went away from seeing what he did after that. And he came in as a freshman and said he was gonna do basketball. So as a coach, as a soccer coach, I'm like, basketball? Like I thought you were a soccer player, right? So he ended up not making grades. So he didn't play soccer nor basketball. Then his sophomore year, finally makes grades, and he was always told that he was good. Christian Gallegos always scored a lot of goals in his young career. He was a kid that was from this town that everybody like, that kid's gonna be good. So he comes in as a sophomore, and he has an offensive role, and I can tell that he had a lot of parts missing to him. So and that's where we started coaching him, and eventually he got better at the end of his sophomore year. And then his senior year, his junior year, he decides to do football, and you know he's kicking out for the team. And then you know he finds his little mojo there, but at the same time forgets a little bit of soccer. So I got him during season, and again it was a work in progress with him. Wasn't fully there. Now senior year, you know he's the main football kicker, and you know he's telling me that he wants to do soccer so bad that he can't wait. And at the same time, I didn't see the off season from Christian Gallegos, and I didn't know how much soccer he did. I don't know if he was ready as far as being a senior. So then I finally get to see him, and as the only senior playing on the field, he had a lot of complaining, a lot of what are we doing, a lot of pointing fingers to his teammates, saying he's not doing enough, when the truth was that he himself was not doing enough. So as a senior, to be able to hear that from us coaches, and pulling him off the field and not playing him anymore because he had some attitude issues, he had a hard time with that. So the story with him changes when we had a locker room talk with him and said, hey, it's your decision right now, but you're about to get kicked off the team. And I said this before, even though we're not a cutting policy school, you still have to talk to the student and explain to him why he's not working out, even though he's our more mature player. Obviously, he didn't have a good, he didn't like listening to that, and ignored us for a little bit.
Just not like a good mindset.
Not a good mindset, not a good mindset. He was in the right place. And this is early in our season where we were kind of coming together. So we said, you either do it the right way or you are no longer welcome.
So we're like an ultimatum.
So we're not gonna carry that type of attitude, that type of mentality, because it's not helping the younger kid develop the right skills.
Right.
So you're not a good example, we told him. And came back to us the next day. He had his best practice ever. And then the next day it just carried over. Somehow that talk made him realize something that we were trying to do with him. Came back and said, Coach, I don't know what's going on, but I apologize. I'm just frustrated and I want to do it the right way. We never asked him, he came to us. From that day on, I mean, Christian Gallegos is first team league this year, when he could have accomplished that 3 years ago, but his commitment wasn't there. So when I go back to, commitment, at such a young age or such a young years, like freshman, and being able to do it since then, it's key. So I love the kid that I see now. I love Christian Gallegos. I tell him I love him. I said, you're gonna see me as your coach forever. You can always come back to me. And our relationship now is more of it's of a coach athlete, but it's more in a way where he can actually come to me and ask me questions other than soccer.
So, like with that ultimatum, it was kind of like just snapping him out of like a trance almost.
Yes, and his teammates could sense it. So if I can tell you this is, we're sitting in a room like this, and I said, Christian, we gotta go outside and we gotta talk. And everybody heard what we were telling him, even though it was in some sort of private. And everybody got the idea then that what we're doing is not just play to play, is to be able to fix everything around us the right way. So from that, it wasn't just Christian Gallegos that got the talk. It was a couple guys that went backwards, and we had to do the same talk to them. But it was beautiful to see Christian Gallegos become a captain from his learning in a matter of a month. His growth went from here to like the sky's the limit. And man, that kid, he put a smile on our face because he never came off the field after that. He became a leader. And that's what we needed all this time. Sometimes you don't know if it's going to work out.
Right.
Right? Because I could have the same conversation with you, and you might say, oh, it's not for me. Like, I don't like the way coach talked to him. But letting him know that it comes from a love place, not from a hate place. It comes from a place where we want to see him succeed, and that's why he's getting that talk. And him understanding it, it's key. You don't know as a coach that it's going to work out. But at the same time, you can't be scared that it's not going to. You just got to say how it is.
So, just talking with all of those like players and so on, do you think it like both helped make them become like, of course, better players and also just kind of better like people for themselves?
Yes. It all started when you talk with the group and you have a little guys over there mumbling about something, or their mindset is not fully there to, at the end of the season, you can see their eyes, they're lasers, they're just focused on what you're doing. They're focused on the task. So all those little things added up, and everybody just became stronger, not only him.
It was just like tuning them into like the mindset so that they'd really get it together.
It took that and many more moments that I would stay here talking about them to be able to get where we're at today.
So I also wanted to ask about another student too, in particular, Junior. Like, how was that with him? Was it sort of like the same upbringing as Christian, or was it like a little different?
It was different. So you have two different completely athletes. You have two different completely persons, different lifestyles, and I'm being honest with you and with anybody out there, specifically here at the high school. Junior was a first-time senior coming out. Junior did not play soccer his youth years. Junior did not play soccer his high school careers. He just heard that anybody could make the team, and he went out and joined. And Junior, his first practice, couldn't even kick a ball. Junior's skill it's not up to this day up to the level of the soccer that we were playing. But what makes Junior special, and when I say special, is that me pushing Junior away because he's not ready didn't slow him down from not helping the team. So there was a passing drill. Junior can't even trap the ball or pass the ball. And I said, Junior, you got to get out because you're only making it worse for the team. You need to go over there, hit the ball against the wall or hit the ball against the box and do it on your own. This is the job that you need to do to be able to get into a passing drill. So me excluding Junior didn't stop him. Junior's mentality was always like, okay, coach. So then he went on, and the whole practice, 45 minutes to an hour, he just hit the wall, drop and pass, drop and pass. When am I going to get a chance? Junior never asked that question. He just showed up the next day. He jumped in. Junior wasn't doing good enough. And I said, Junior, you got to get out. Well, coach, what can I do to help? Junior, set up all the balls right here and make sure you hand me the balls. Junior's handing me out the balls. Coach, what else? Get all that, get those goals, get everything together. Junior became everything. Junior has a photo class, photography class, and he asked me, hey, can I bring out my camera? And knowing that Junior was most likely not gonna play, any minutes, I say, hey, what about if you start doing that plus this, you become a media guy, and stuff like that. Junior said yes, and Junior attacked every single little task. I try to get rid of Junior in an honest way. I said, Junior, it's not there for you. He kept coming back. All right, Junior. And Junior kept coming back, even though it was a no all the time, right? But then you start seeing his commitment. And I said, no. Like, he has something to himself. So then Junior took that into like a next level where it's like, I'm going to be there for my team. These guys need me in some sort of way. And he bought in. Next thing you know, Junior is in the warm-up with the guys. He can trap and pass now because he went over there and did it alone for so long. And his mindset is like, I need to at least do this. And to be able to see him grow in that matter, and do not push the kid away just because I don't want him. I think as a coach, you got to be able to read it and say, hey, there's something to this kid that we can use. And the boys loved him. Even though he wasn't the best soccer player, the boys loved him and they became a family. And he's part of our family.
So you were always able to see how persistent he was. And with that, of course you had like a lot of tasks to him, but like when you saw it more and more, like you wanted to include him and all that, and eventually became like the player he was.
Yeah, I mean, Junior is a Valley champ. He's going to get a ring. Everybody's a teammate right here. And he's going to walk around saying he's a Valley champ, the first SSL champion. Oh, man, what other beautiful thing there is, right? So he earned that. I'm not going to say that he didn't. He did everything he had to do, and he suffered and he struggled. But, the second half of the season, Junior just confidence it's just up and, all bought in, and it was just amazing to see.
So you would say like he never really complained. He was just like a man for the task no matter what.
Yep, that was Junior.
And that's great.
Yeah.
Now, I also want to ask like about like your younger players, especially for like your juniors and sophomores, freshmen, like how do you imagine, especially in the future, do you think they'll keep like continuing their success like this in the future, and hopefully, with their experience, they continue passing it down on to other players and so on. Hopefully, you probably could create a dynasty at that point with just the amazing players you already have.
I think that's the goal. That's always been the goal, to have athletes that can believe that they can go to a bigger place, but not only believing it. Obviously, now you see that we reached the regional state final, and that's not believing, that's knowing that they can do it. And when we went south, and knowing that we could have won that game, we competed and we knew it could have been ours, and losing it, that set a fire on those kids. And that fire right now, going that far, knowing that they can get there again, it's still light up. And they're out there right now. They're going back to their clubs. They're doing soccer. They're constantly, reminding myself that where we're going to go next year. Now, with that being said, it doesn't mean that we ever going to go back to a regional state championship. In soccer and in any other sport, nothing's guaranteed. So for me to say that we're going to be back, I would be lying if I said we're going to be back, because it's just a hard sport. But that I'm going to do everything it takes to go back, that's true. That's true. And that I'm going to do whatever it takes with these boys and make sure that they're ready. All I can do is prepare, knowing that we can, right? But that I can say, oh, well, we'll be back. It's not ideal for me to say. I played a state championship at the college level myself, and I coached that. And I said to myself as a young coach, oh, we'll be back. And it's been 7 years and I haven't been back. Coming back with the same athletes. it's not easy to coach, and it's not easy to say that you will. But what you can do is control it. And that's what we're doing. We're controlling what we do. We create our own destiny. And that comes from Coach Tony, my assistant. It's like, you get to do what you want to do because you can control it. You get to do how much work you want to put in, how much soccer or how much TV, how much video game, how much running, right? So it goes that way. So it's on everybody's, mindset and ways that they do to be able to reach that again. But I do believe that our young group is very talented. I do believe that they have what it takes to be able to do it again. And with that being said, we're going to go back to work.
So you're still retaining just your optimism for your players and just the sport in general, but just kind of leveling down the hopes that, hey, maybe this might not happen, And, that's a great mindset with that too, because, like you said, it's not really a guaranteed. And you had a great set of players this year, which was just amazing, and seeing you be able to go to the CIF and then eventually Valley Champs, that's a great thing. So it's great to have that mindset of just optimism and to be able to at least have hopes.
Yeah.
So I also want to say, because I know I talked about kind of like what's your best memory, but I also want to say what was your biggest accomplishment? What was your proudest accomplishment whilst you were kind of coaching?
So obviously trophies, it's a nice thing to have, but I told this to the boys after we won Valley Championship. My biggest accomplishment is knowing that after 9 years, hearing that what you're doing, it's wrong, or that what you're doing is a little bit of it's not the right way, or you do too much for these kids, or 3 hours of practice might be a little bit too much for these kids. They need to rest. The noise from the outside telling you that
all the words of discouragement.
That will never happen.
Yeah.
Okay. We have a quote, and I always say, "Make never meant to happen for our soccer program," because we're not with the biggest resources. We're not with the biggest crowds. We come from the dirt. And realistically, it's true. We were not supposed to be there. We're not supposed to go there. So my most rewarding part of all of this is knowing that after 9 years, that seed finally germinated, and I'm able to show myself, but not somebody else, that what we do here or what I've been doing, it's finally
paid off.
So when I coach or when I'm teaching somebody out there, I teach the word perseverance with believing on what you're doing is right, because it's most likely going to be right, but it just takes time. So that's my biggest accomplishment and my biggest award, but it's to myself.
Just being able to accomplish the fact that, out of all those discouraging words from outside people and all that, you still continued forth, and then eventually now you kind of proved them wrong in a way.
A little bit like that. I don't mean to sound that way, but it's mostly to prove myself, not somebody else. I'm not trying to prove something against anybody else. Yes, I want to prove myself that what I did and what I've been doing makes sense and it works. That's what it is.
And that's a great thing. And I also want to ask about one of your games, specifically North Hollywood. How was that like, and what did you feel against playing one of the top schools?
Playing a state game, it's a different beast, because it's a place where nobody else has gone before, specifically, soccer-wise. The trouble is way different than going anywhere else around here. But I asked one question to the boys. I said, okay, we had two goals on the board. 2 of those goals were SSL and were a Valley Championship. So those were set on the board. After we accomplished that, I asked the boys, I said, hey guys, what is it that you guys want to do? Because I can coach you the way I keep coaching you, or this is just extra. Like, is it just extra for you guys, or does it mean more? They all came back to me and said, oh, we want to do it. We feel like we can do it. Okay, so from that I said, right, got to be on time. Well, I keep being on time. Got to keep being on top of everything, video, film, practices. So when we were over there, the feeling was a little different, but we were going to accomplish the same goals. And coaching that game was a little off. It wasn't the best game we had. And just because it was a new territory for everybody. But at the same time, even though we did not have our best game, there was something to that, because even though you don't have your best games, horrible game, and you're still able to win, it shows the character of the team. So not feeling comfortable enough in that environment, but still being able to pull that win against a big school like that. I mean, you're playing in the city, in the middle of everything, was very, very, very big for us. And it felt like winning that game, we could possibly win the whole thing. So coming off that game, the boys' spirits were up. At the same time, I think they were tired off of the hard work, but something light up on top of your SSL and the Valley Championship.
Just that drive to keep on
yeah,
going.
just that drive to know that, hey, we can compete and we can be here. We belong here. So, yeah.
So I also want to say, like, who do you think, like, out of all the schools in D5, like, who do you think will be a challenge to you, like, on the oncoming road?
D5 as far as state or league?
Let's say both.
So league-wise, Wasco has always been our rival. In the past years, it was Chavez, but it goes back to when I played. Wasco has the more league titles, and it's because they have a nice culture, soccer culture over there. So I think it's gonna be between Wasco and us. I could say that, but you never know what route soccer is gonna take next season. And then Valley, you could see your Kalinga being a top contender. And then from there, Valley is always like, those seniors are always going to have that good team. And I can't really tell because it's just so close. And then state championships, you see the brackets and whole different teams every time. It's not the same teams that are going to state. So it's all up for grabs. But if you stay consistent, I'm pretty sure you'll be there.
So I want to ask, like, on the aspect of coaching once more, like, do you think having the people from, like, TC, for example, like, add on to the team be, like, such a huge help to you? Do you think that, like, kind of having wiser minds on the field with you, do you think that helps significantly to you?
A lot. Having experienced people that seen it, that knows how it looks like, that knows how you're supposed to coach it, and that has been successful in a way at the next level. That's key. When you bring those people in and you let them coach, you let them be free and speak their minds and teach the things that they have inside of them, it's fundamental for your program to grow. Ever since all the teachings that I have, all my experience that I gained, and I have to be honest with it, it's come from across the street from Taft College. What I learned from Coach Angelo Cutruna, what I learned from Coach John Delaney, what I learned from Coach Valentine Sanchez, those guys are still up there. And those were my coaches back in college. And Coach Delaney was my coach here in high school. He actually coached high school and he coached me for 2 years. And that's where I started hearing all the details, all the coaching, all the time, everything that it takes. I went over, it's like going to school. When you go over there, you're not just going to play, you're going to school. So even though I graduated with the AA on kinesiology, I also graduated with an AA with soccer, because you got to go over there and apply yourself. Once you apply yourself and you graduate from that program, you take what you learned to the next level, which I did, went on and played at Cal State San Bernardino. And going from here to there, it was way too easy over there, even though it's a bigger level. I was captain of the team. I'm like, what is this? Because what I did back at Taft doesn't even compare to what I do here. It's just way too easy. And
Just like way different levels.
yeah, I mean, it's just way different levels. Even though it's a junior college, it's supposed to be better over there. But the emphasis on teamwork is not the same. It's more of an individual plays. If you're good, you're gonna play. Coach is not gonna get on you. You either have it or you don't. You sit the bench, coaches ain't gonna come talk to you to tell you how to do it. Right? So when I went over there was none of this culture. Right? So, but at the same time, because I learned this culture, it was way too easy for me. So when I tell you the difference between community college and university level and professional level, I mean, we were taking airplanes to travel to different matches. We were getting fed, we get money, you get everything, right? But at the same time, it was just much easier over there because of this. So eventually I came back, and those same teachings is what I'm teaching the kids now here at our high school. But what happens is sometimes it's too hard. It's too hard for them to hear it, that they're not supposed to be doing certain stuff. And that going against the hard, it defeats the kids sometimes. But when you finally find a group that is willing to buy in, then you can see the results. You can see what happens.
So it's sort of just a difficulty being able to like fight against those struggles, but in some aspect too, like you said, when you find like the correct group, of course, that are willing to learn and like keep evolving and so on, and then like with your peers especially, how does it feel with that? Does it just like seeing it now, does it just make you happy that you're able to have such people like kind of listen?
I'm blessed. I'm blessed to have people now that listen. I am happy, but my kids will tell you, my athletes will tell you, or they will ask me, Coach, we just won SSL, or Coach, we just won Valley, or Coach, we just went to the state championships. Why aren't you happy? So I'm happy for the moment, and I know we accomplished big things. But as a coach and as the person I am, I tell them, we're not done, or I'm not done. I said, I think that we can move on from this moment, and I think that we've done a great job, but what's next? So I say, what's next? And from that, we move on and try to take care of it. Sorry, I talk too much, guys.
Don't even, man. It's great being able to hear your stories and so forth.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Well, it seems we've run out of time. So until then, thank you very much for watching our show. And thank you so much for our guest being able to come on and express his stories and so forth. And once then, see you later.